Hi everybody, this is Jake Kerr, and I apologize for missing the last couple days and the weekend. I was not feeling well and was basically not well enough to do the video, but here I am. So let's get on with it. Again, I'm doing a series of videos about my life, which I hope you find amusing. And it's to celebrate the release of my novel Thursday, which comes out on November 1st. So my last video I talked about working on the road as a business development consultant, and I kind of amusingly mentioned consultants. And I wanted to tell you a story that is probably all too typical of a consultant. And I was a consultant, so I can laugh about myself. I took it seriously, and most consultants do. They want to share knowledge and help people be better. But there are some that clearly take advantage of the fact that being a consultant is a way for some people to have an excuse, and they don't do much more than that. So this is a story about a consultant I worked for just for a heartbeat. And they worked with a media company that was international. And they operated in countries across the globe. And some of the companies they worked with were in Europe. And the head of the business development unit of this company asked me to help him out as he was going off to Europe to do a presentation in front of all of their kind of country units. So they had Poland and France and Spain and Germany and England, etc. And I said, yeah, sure, I'll help you out. And he's like, well, can you do this? I want you to email everybody and ask them a few questions. What are their biggest challenges? What they've done to face those challenges, and what they are planning to do to address those challenges. And I was like, yeah, sure, I can do that. So I emailed everybody and was really just collecting information. Sometimes they'd ask for clarity, like, do you want to know what our challenges are today or in the future? And I'd say, yeah, send me everything you got. So I gather it all up and I talked to the head of our unit, and he's like, hey, put a PowerPoint together, one slide for each territory or country, I should say, and outline like their challenges, what they've done, and what they plan on doing. And I said, sure. So I put that PowerPoint together, and he goes, exclude country X. And I'm not going to tell you what country it was, but he says, exclude country X. I was like, what do you want me to do for country X? He's like, just put the header up there. I'll fill out the rest. And I was like, okay. So I sent it off to him, and he gets it back to me, and he says, hey, just look this over, because he knew I was a good writer, and he's like, help me with the language and stuff. And for country X, which was blank, he just laid into them like, this is a mess, this is a mess, this is a mess, this is a mess. And was like all of these things where everything is broken basically, and we need to blow it up, right? And then it was the first slide. And then every other slide was basically identical to what I got back and what I filled in, just kind of like laid out prettier. So he went off and did his presentation, and it was amazing. Everybody was talking about how much of a genius he was. He totally got them and things like that. And he came back, and I said, well, how did it go? And he sat back and he goes, listen, son, I'm going to tell you give you a lesson on how to manage all of these personalities. I was like, okay, you're the boss. Fill me in, sir. And what he basically said was, the first slide, he knew that country had a horrible reputation across the entire continent. Everybody thought they were a mess. And he outlined basically what everybody else knew, is like how much of it was a mess. He goes, when I gave the presentation, I outlined what everybody else knew and assumed, and I was basically letting them know that I had my eye on things and I knew the heartbeat. He goes, even though it was obvious, everybody knew. They were like, hey, this guy has the heartbeat because he's pegged the bad guy as the bad guy. I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of lame, but it is what it is. So, and I said, well, what about the others? Everything else, you just basically told them what they told you. And he goes, well, that's the genius of it. When I was talking to Germany, Poland was watching and France was watching, and I'm explaining what's going on, and the German guy is going like, yeah, that's exactly right, that's exactly right. And he was enthusiastic about it because I was basically confirming what he wanted to be heard. And everybody else was hearing it and saying like, wow, this guy totally gets it because he knows what's going on in those marketplaces. And then when it became their turn, he would explain to them exactly what they gave him. And instead of saying he was telling them back what they told him, They were seeing it as, oh, we got our shit together. This guy is basically not criticizing us and outlining our problems. He's basically telling us that we know what we're doing, and it's a big seal of approval. So it's this whole political machination of using people's personalities against them because they never talk to each other except in this big meeting. So France thought that they were the only country that had their act together, because when he was criticizing Germany and he was using those phrases, the German guy was like, yeah, you get it, and we understand. And they all looked to the very first guy who was a total mess, and they were like, well, he totally got that right too, because we all know they're a mess. So essentially what happened is my boss went to Europe and did no research and did no understanding of what the markets were all about, told everybody what they wanted to hear, and came back, and everybody was talking about how much of a genius he was, because their market, they had their act together, but everybody else was clearly a mess, and he knew what they were doing wrong, and he nailed it. And these guys are all paying him, like, and I'm not exaggerating, 50 grand a month to consult them internationally. And essentially, he was just telling them what they wanted to hear. And he was like, that was the big lesson he gave me. I'm in his corner office, and he's like, let me tell you, son, this is how it works. And I can tell you that that's not how I work, but it was both horrifying and amusing to hear that coming from him, how he was managing these countries. You know, he was essentially cashing their check so that they could all feel good about themselves. And maybe there's value in that. Maybe there's even 50 grand a month in value in that. But that's not the kind of value that most consultants I know provide. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the story. I'll have another one for you tomorrow. Probably won't be on the BizDev side. I'll probably tell another music industry story that will kind of cleanse our palate of consultants in business development. Again, my novel is out on November 1st. You can go to jakekerr.com and learn more about it. And I hope you are enjoying these stories. Thanks.